Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. If you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, this lovely review from Giraffe Killa with an A. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Giraffe Killa. I hope you're not actually killing giraffes because I'm an animal lover. You know what I also love? I love the idea of you guys quitting smoking for the year 2021. And what better way to help you quit than by chewing Lucy nicotine gum? Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. These products were researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. I've tried the wintergreen. It's really good. Like, you don't even taste, I don't even know what nicotine is supposed to taste like, but I didn't taste anything other than delicious gum. Lucy also has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine in cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually does taste great. I would know. I've been chewing them. It's convenient and discreet. These products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, even in the gym. Guys, it's about to be 2021. It's time to better yourself. We've all had a rough year. And what better than to invest in yourself, in your health? And that is by quitting smoking. Throw out your vape, unplug it, throw out your dip, get rid of your cigarettes, and get some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. It's so simple, you don't have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down. And for all our CMP listeners, go to lucy.co and use promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off all products, including gum and lozenges. That's lucy.co and use the promo code CMP at checkout. Also, I have to give this disclaimer warning. This product does contain nicotine derived from tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Lucy.co. Use that promo code CMP. I am thrilled and excited to have this guy on the podcast today. I think I was opening for him at Uncle Vinny's a few years back in New Jersey. He is the world's only Amish stand-up comedian. It's Raymond, the Amish comic. How are you?
Hi, it's good to see you again. Yeah, we did. We met at the beach, as it were. And it's the fun. I love that club down there. And Dino always puts people more famous than me to open for me. It's very embarrassing. It's so embarrassing because you come from New York, probably. I'm guessing.
yeah.
So
Yes.
it's a quick shot to get there, so they can get more famous people. And then I never heard of you, and then I go, oh, then I go on your Twitter. Oh, 22,000 followers. Okay, I have like 2,000. If I tweet political, I'll lose half of them.
Oh, no. You
So
can't do that.
no,
You
you
can't
can't
lose
do
your
that.
base.
Can't lose my base. So
I would say that you are more famous than me, Raymond. You're very unique. I don't know of any. I mean, I didn't know you could be Amish and a stand-up comedian. And you're
well,
actually really Amish. That's not a wig you're wearing.
before I address that, let me explain to you my celebrity fame. I
Okay.
figured this out. I am the most famous stand-up comedian amongst New York and New Jersey based comedians who never got famous. They all heard of me. Rain Pryor. I know Rain Pryor. I know Kelly Carlin. I know Jim Norton, Rich Voss, Jim Mendrinos. I know Gilbert Godfrey. And when I try to get booked, like say Comedy Club in Ohio, I will shamelessly tag these famous people in my tweet to them to get booked. And Rain Pryor tweeted to Comedy Club in Ohio, oh yeah, he's great, book him. And they didn't do it. So when you play your Richard Pryor's daughter card and it doesn't work, I got nothing. That's it.
Yeah. What if we can't name drop? What are we doing even?
Yeah, and I should have saved Richard Pryor's daughter Rain for my ace in the hole. I should have went like with Norton and Voss and then Bob Levy and those guys first, and then say, oh yeah, well how about Rain Pryor? But no, I'm a dumbass. But yeah, I'm the real deal. This beard is it's a commitment people always say, well, it must be fake. I challenge anybody to walk around in life with this head on the hopes that in 30 years during a pandemic, I could do a Zoom show with Chrissie. Not that I'm complaining of being here, but it's a commitment of a head to walk around with this thing.
Hey, that's the thing. We're all born with the different heads, and we have to do.
Yeah, and if you're going to pretend to be anything, you really wouldn't pick Amish. That's rolling the dice and playing the long game there.
How did you? I mean, I assume you were Amish before you became a stand-up.
Yes, yeah, and I left rather easily. You just basically, people think this is underground Amish railroad escape system, but you basically just decide to leave and walk away. It's that's not that big of a deal. But the head, I got accustomed to. There's a star of the show. That's my cockatiel. See, if I could do that on cue.
Bird just flew onto his head.
This is my cockatiel. I have to apologize because I'm very ADD and OCD. I have been streaming live from this living room for 35 weeks.
Wow.
And I put a microphone that is not plugged in right in front of me. And Sparky likes to just swoop in and land on the microphone. And she's far more entertaining than me because the people will just go, look how cute that bird is.
She is so cute. So those just listening on the audio version, there's the cockatiel flew in and landed on Raymond's head, and now he's holding it up. That's so cute. So you have like a trained bird there.
Well, not trained at all. That's the fun of it. That's the fun of it. And when I live stream, it's around 8:00, and that's really like an hour past her bedtime. Aww. At 7:00, she's like a gun-ho testosterone football player waiting to get on a Super Bowl. She's beeping and screaming and running around. But like 8:00, she's conked out. And then the fans are like, where's Sparky, man? Where's the cockatiel? Go get her. You can't just go get her. She comes and goes as she pleases, but she will sit on the microphone. And on the one episode, I didn't have the microphone up high enough, and I had to raise it up slowly, and she stayed on it. It was one of the most watched episodes of all time. The cockatiel had just come up. See, now she's on the shoulder.
Yeah, she's crawling up your arm.
As she gets a little bit of Weekend at Bernie's dynamic going on here, because if I move too much, she'll take a hack. Like
she'll peck at you.
Yeah, so
you have to be still. Wow, so she's in charge.
Yeah, and so when I'm live streaming and I'm all over the place and I'm waving my arms, because you try to make it fun and visual for the audience, but if she goes to the shoulder, then I gotta like deadpan everything, and all of a sudden you try to perform stand up by going, yes, I was going down the street on the horses. Like, see, now she's going on a walkabout here. But yeah, she's saved quite a few episodes for me.
That's so cute. Yeah, some people, if their dog or cat falls asleep on them, they don't feel like they can move, but your awake bird lands on you and you're like, oh, I have to be still so this bird doesn't get upset with me.
Oh my God. In one episode, fireworks went off in the neighborhood and they spooked her and she flew off. And I'm live streaming and it's free. So I'm like, sorry, folks. Fuck it. I got to go find my bird. So I left my live stream to run around the house to get my bird back to like calm her down.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's great. She's
Has
fantastic.
She ever run away or flown away from home?
Oh, don't even start. We had her. My God, our daughter's grown up now. We got her when our daughter was in like probably like 3rd grade. And I was on a road trip.
Oh, Raymond. We lost Raymond.
We lost me.
Oh, you're back.
My daughter tried to call us. This won't be so much fun for the thing, but I have to send my wife a message upstairs through my Alexa. Okay. Alexa, announce. Wife, could you tell our daughter not to call me because I am doing a live show? And Sparky's tearing it up. I look like the dick because I just went into silent mode, but that would be great.
Is it against Amish rules to use Alexa?
Oh yeah. I shouldn't even have a zipper. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I love this so much.
This, as I said, I'm OCD, MOUSC. This gets to the heart of, I've somehow back in March, I knew my career was destroyed.
Oh no.
So
as soon as the lockdown hit.
I set up a backdrop here. I change it around every so often. The stars are new because people are going, you should perform outside under the stars. Yeah, there you go. I'm under the stars. So I had to learn how to stream. And I was trying foolishly to stream to two platforms, Facebook, or as I'm going to call it, Hatebook.
Yeah.
And YouTube. When I went over to YouTube, I can't get people to come over from Hatebook. And my show is free. They just, it has them by the balls. It just has them. And they just won't come over. But I would be, my wife, my poor wife, she didn't sign up for any of this stuff. She would be upstairs monitoring the chats and the streams, and she'd have to flip back and forth. And she is the opposite of me. She had early on she had to run into a live stream. And I'm like, I'm so obnoxious. I'm like, you must be fucking drunk. Well, because you just wouldn't absolutely walk into my stream. And she said, they're saying in the chat that you have mouse ears.
Wow. And she had to let you know.
You must be really fucking hammered. See, behind me, I have hats. I set up this thing to look like a comedy club. And I took all my Amish hats and I put a row of them there. And when I tilted my head in the exact way, it lined up to make it look like I had Mickey Mouse ears.
Oh, that's clever.
And it would have been clever if I did it on purpose. But I did it by mistake. And then so I turned around, I'm there. Yeah, son of a bitch. It looked like I have big Mickey Mouse ears. It's very distracting. So then I took them down, thanked my wife. 5 minutes later, she came back in the room and said, in the chat, they miss the mouse ears. They'd like them back.
Do it again. So, oh my God.
Yeah. So that's what's been going on. And then sometimes she'll come down and say, they're saying that you're sideways on YouTube. I don't know how long you've been doing this techno stuff, but I'm new at it, and I'd be okay on Hatebook, but on YouTube I'd be sideways. And if you don't know what you're doing, I'm like, just tell people to turn their fucking TVs, flip them over, or their phones. You know, what the hell am I going to do? It must be
hard because you're an Amish person. It's like you're going against your programming.
Oh my God! And I was one of these people who would never want to do a podcast or live stream. That's all we have now.
That's for a while.
All we have. And any comedian you talk to, when you ask how they're doing and they say, fine, they are lying.
They are lying to your face.
They're trying to pretend like life is fine. But I think I could probably be a politician because I'm sure I didn't answer your question.
No, you're doing great.
Whatever.
You're doing great, Raymond. I think the viewers might be curious to how you got into stand-up, and also, do you live in Pennsylvania? Are you from like classic Amish country?
I am from classic Amish country. I live in Pennsylvania. I have a cult-like following in Pennsylvania because I'm like a walking tourist attraction. Outside of Pennsylvania, I never really hit it. So I've embraced being a walking tourist attraction in Pennsylvania. And the plan was never really to get into stand-up comedy. The plan was to just get out. And I worked at a very sleazy screen printing shop for like $5 an hour. And there was a lot of hatred and tension in this shop. And I just did goofy, silly shit because I don't like that. I like everything to be like it is in like Mary Poppins. Everything should be happy and fun.
So you worked with other Amish people at this screen printing shop?
No. I was out. This is city people. I had just bolted. See, it's real easy to leave the Amish because the local teenage city kids that are not Amish, they just try to recruit you. Like, we've all partied and fucked our lives up, but imagine having cheerleaders for that. Drink it, smoke it, do it. Come on over. Here's the radio. You know,
here's the radio.
They hide shit for you, and so you have a cheering squad. And then when they have me out for the weekend, you kind of be like a showpiece. They like take you around. Here's our Amish guy. We brought him. And you just basically just stand there like you're in a wax museum and people go, wow. And then they pet my beard. Is that real?
So you were born and raised like everyone in your family. Did you have brothers and sisters? Like, like describe what it was like to be, raised as an Amish little boy.
Well, the punchline to the end of that story is I have a brother who's out as well, and he's an electrician.
Okay,
So
that's way up.
going, yeah, that's going the other. And when he took his test for that, I guess it's a real weighty test. He totally bombed it, and I was really pissed off. I'm there. There's no way you bombed it, because when you don't have something, become really obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. So I actually stormed into the place where he bombed his test, and I'm there. There's no possible way he bombed this test. He got like 97 wrong out of whatever, and they matched it with the wrong answers. Here he nailed it. Oh. He totally nailed the test. He just crossed it with the wrong answer. But really, growing up, Amish is fun until you get to a certain age, because you get to run around barefoot, and there's farm animals to play with, and you can slop through the mud and all kinds of fun stuff. But then when you get to that age where you're supposed to like work all the time,
14,
and you older. Well, you really start to have to work when you're younger. But the problem is the city runs right up to the back of farms. So you'd be like farming, and there would be like a McDonald's, like just a manure pile away. And you'd be like, man, I'm just going to bolt. I'm going to go hit the McDonald's. I'm going to just go. And so
you're not allowed to have any outside food at all. No outside anything.
Well, you're supposed to stay within. You're not really supposed to go out there. So when they hit it's called Rumspringa. I don't know if you have kids, but it's a brilliant parental concept. The toughest age, I believe, to parent kids is when they're teenagers, because you want to give them a little freedom so they learn how to be adults, but you don't want to give them too much so they get all liquored up and drive the Cadillac off a cliff.
Right.
So there's that balance there. And Rumspringa is basically, fuck it, let's just let them do whatever they want. And they can run around and smoke dope and do cocaine off biker chicks' backsides. And when they
how old are you when you go on Rumspringa?
Like 16, 17, 18. When you get all that out of your system, you'll come back and become good farming Amish citizens. And I'm like on my 45th year of Rumspringa with no immediate signs of going back. It's just, it's life. City life kind of took me. So I'm in a happy place. Well, I should say I was in a happy place before 2020 hit. But very few people leave because they scare the hell out of you. While they sanction Rumspringa, it's basically, and this is true, they are worried you will die on Rumspringa and then you will go to hell. You have no chance.
Wow.
And that's your final send-off. Just remember, if you die while you're on Rumspringa, you're going straight to hell. Have fun. We'll see you in a couple of years. But they kind of live at home then. And man, there's a great documentary about this. The Amish kids mostly all have cell phones, and they can get a weekend party together. Remember the olden days of when schools canceled and they called 8 parents?
Yeah,
and
we had a phone tag.
A phone tag, yeah. And then those 8 would call 8, and that would go. Well, that's how the Amish kids do parties. And within the course of an hour, they can get like 1,000 kids in the back of somebody's barnyard there raising hell.
Ooh.
And, yeah, and that's accepted for a small amount of time. And then basically they're like, okay, that was a fun year. Now it's time to, turn them phones back in. And
wow.
But it's crazy. These Amish kids get liquored up, and they get in trouble, and the cops have them, and the courts have them. A friend of a friend told me that the court had his friend, and he was all drunk driving and smacked his buggy and the shit and all that. And the court didn't know what to do with him because he didn't have any ID or anything. He told them about a friend who told his parents, and they made a deal if they just show up with his Amish clothes, because you party, you hide blue jeans and rock t-shirts in the bushes so you can party with the city kids. If they come back to court with his normal Amish clothes, they can just have him. And they did. And they came and they dressed him back up as Amish, and then he just took him back.
Wow.
So
I wonder if other people could use that if they get into trouble. Just pretend you're Amish and be like, I don't have an ID.
I wouldn't sanction it. I wouldn't sanction it because once they run you through the computer and you have ID, then the jig is up.
The jig.
So
this is so interesting. So you just have your one brother. Do you have any other siblings?
I have some that I've lost contact with, but I have a brother who's out. My city family is rock star, man. I love my city family. My wife's got a great family, and she's one of 4 sisters, and we have a grown-up daughter who's amazing, and she's helps me with my career. I always laugh when I see stupid shit on Twitter because, like, my grown-up daughter is way smarter than me. Our kids are way smarter than us, by the way.
Oh, and I think, God, I haven't had any kids yet. I can't wait.
I'm going to take a pounding here, but also I think women are way smarter than men. So I have a safety network of my wife and my daughter who will see some stupid shit that I post and tell me. Like my daughter will send me a text, you got to take that down. In fact, that phone call might have been her, but she would text me. She wouldn't call me.
What kind of a thing? Like, so you have a daughter who's watching your Twitter, making sure you don't say anything problematic?
No, she won't watch it like a hawk. But if it pops up, she'll go, yeah, you got to take that down. That's terrible.
What is something like an example of something she had you take down?
I can't really think of anything now because I'm trained well enough because before I post anything, I go, how will my daughter see this? How will my wife see this? And now I have granddaughters on Instagram too. So I keep my Instagram squeaky clean. And I remember when Bob Levy, a friend of mine, when he first got on the Instagram, I was laughing. I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, Bob Levy totally doesn't understand Instagram yet. Cause he'd have like a picture of him laying in his underwear with his dog and half his ass would be hanging out. I'm like,
hey, maybe he did get it.
Maybe he did get it. I don't know, but
it's a thirst trap. Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of figured it out. My live streams have been no politics because I would lose half my audience, whichever side I went. And I put all these filters on my YouTube channel for both camps. So if anybody tries to post anything, it just blocks out. So I learned some shit. And the little politics that I did were that I ran around Pennsylvania collecting yard signs from both sides just to keep people safe. Like, why the fuck would you announce who you're voting for? You're putting a big target on your house, crying out loud.
Well, I noticed the and I have never seen this. I feel like the Amish came out pretty decently in a big way for Trump this year. And
it's a lie.
It's a lie?
It's a lie. Oh my God. I can look at those pictures and I can tell you, like, okay, there's an Amish with bling. So she's got big necklaces on, and then her boyfriend's sitting on a half motorcycle looking in his phone. I don't know. They could be Mennonites. They could be actors. They could just be people that would be fun to dress up. Especially the last one they had was on the middle of the week in October. And I'm like, that's fall harvest. There's no Amish that's going to take off of fall harvest to go to a political rally. Not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. So that's fun. And then when that stuff happens, when anything Amish appears in the headlines, my fans just throw it. It's like all over my.
They tag you. Yeah.
Yeah, they tag me, and then I got to debunk everything. And but yeah, that one made me laugh because where the Amish get involved in politics is local.
Okay.
And if it's a road that's going to go through a farm, they'll show up at the meeting and say this is terrible. But as far as political affiliation, no, that was part of the fake news, as it were.
They're mostly self-governed, and unless it's like a really, like, what issues concern, other than a road going through a farm, like what issues concern the Amish? Like, what are they most passionate about? Like, would there
zoning restrictions? however many years ago, this sounds like a bad knock joke. They could put an outhouse wherever they wanted. And then the zoning ordinances of safety and how far away from a house an outhouse could be. So they'd have to get permits, and then they wouldn't get them, and they put it up anyway. They're stubborn. They mostly will just pay fines. There were Amish who wouldn't put the battery lights on their buggies, so they got traffic citations and all that stuff. So they get involved in politics on that kind of a small local level. I was doing and the Ohio Amish, they're really nuts.
Really?
I was doing a radio phone-ins with a show out there for a couple of years. The city actually, and they called me up, and then it's hard not to laugh. They called me up and said that the city filed a lawsuit against Ohio Amish because the horses' shoes were ripping up the new asphalt roads, and they wanted the Amish to put a softer horseshoe on the horse. Like,
it's bad for the horses.
You responded with the proper laugh there. You're basically asking the Amish to put sneakers on the horse, and the Amish are like, yeah, whatever. We'll see what we can do. But it's stuff like that. It's road stuff. It's nothing really political. Environment stuff that affects if they can build a thing a certain place, or farmland related stuff. Amish will buy up a house in Lancaster and rip all the electric out. They'll buy a city house that's for sale, and they'll just gut the electric right away and stuff like that.
That's
and
cool.
You can't really do that stuff anymore without filing all the paperwork. So that's where they get in trouble, because they're like, well, we didn't know you had to file the paperwork. And
to take out the electric? So, yeah, I mean, it should be, it's your house, right? If you don't want any electric, you should be able to take it out, right?
In theory, but anymore, you really have to, some areas you have to, if you want to build an extension onto your garage, there's paperwork and there's things. And so, but they're way too busy farming. That's it. The very nature of the Amish lifestyle is to keep you so busy from the moment you get up to the moment you drop over at night. You don't have time to go, damn, I wish I had TV to watch, or I wish I could, that's not factored in. So politics, not on the board.
What is like a typical Amish day like? Like, what kind of activities are you doing morning till sunset?
It's farming. It's, if you've seen the movie Witness, they get no,
I haven't.
That's a crash course right there.
Okay, I gotta watch farming.
It. They get Harrison Ford is hiding in an Amish farm, and the old man wakes him up when it's still dark, because he said, I can help you with stuff, but he didn't know he'd wake him up when it was still dark. And then he had him out there milking cows and all kind of stuff. So, I mean, you get up and you start farming, and then that's what you do. It's farm animals and all that stuff. Is, if you have any pets, they're very needy. And if all of a sudden you live somewhere where there's not pets, but there's cows and there's chickens and there's pigs and there's roosters, that's all day. That's just, there's no break. When you take a trip and you go, who's going to feed my cat? The Amish are like, imagine if you had like 100 pets.
100 cows. So they're not going on vacation, I guess. They're not going.
No, and there's totally always something to do, and it's designed for them to not have any free time. That, oddly enough, is why the Amish don't have tractors, because the plowing would get done too soon and could possibly lead to free time, which is the devil's workshop. Yeah, it's funny, but it's also true. So that becomes a horrible thing too. So for me, I'm still thrilled with all the fun stuff of life. That's why I got obsessed with technology. I'm a huge fan of curbside groceries. There's some of this stuff in the pandemic I hope just never goes away. The fact that I could sit on this chair and drink a bourbon And if I want to fire up something that's not legal in some states, but possibly soon here, and order groceries in my phone over the course of a few days and then arrange to pick them up on the time when I'm sober, that's a great way to live.
Yeah.
Then my wife will be looking over my shoulder. She'll look in the cart and go, "Did you mean to order 4 boxes of Pop-Tarts?"
You're like, yes, I
No,
was high.
actually, it was going to be 6. So thank you for reminding me. We'll put 2 extra ones in there. But yeah, it's crazy days. But I love when you grow up without something and you're allowed to have it, then you tend to go nuts with it.
Oh, for sure. Are you still like in contact with a lot of people who are still Amish and fully like living the life?
Absolutely none whatsoever. In fact, for quite a few years, when I would go back to Lancaster to do a comedy club. In fact, that's where I met a lot of New York comedians. There was a great comedy club down there.
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah.
I met so many of the people that I know down there. I was so paranoid. I would just like hide in my hotel room. I would just go and I would hide. And then about probably like 5 or 10 years went by, and I started to laugh because it was so built up. I'm like, why am I hiding? Like, there's more stores here now than farmland. There's like Tony Wang's Amish Chinese restaurant, and all the shops would take like an Amish guy or a buggy and put it in front of a store. It had nothing to do. So I kind of stopped hiding then. And then when I decided I enjoyed being a bit of an asshole, I'll go down there and sort of dick with the tourists. I ran into a convenience store one day, middle of the, because you're a comedian and you're bored in the day. What do you do till showtime? Nothing. So I ran into a convenience store looking like I look, and the tourists were staring at me and a couple of Amish wandering in. And I went and I picked up a can of shaving cream and a pack of razors. And I went, one more fucking day like this on the farm and I'm going to shave it off and get out of here. And I threw the shit back down. I said, but I'll give him one more day. And then I kept a straight face and I stormed out. Then you try to kind of look back. But just dicking with the tourists became like a fun final wahoo down there.
Do you get a lot of like judgment or shit from people that are still fully Amish and like, or do you just not bump into them?
Not so much anymore. And it was never Amish. It was kind of like the abortion issue. The people most assholish about it are people who could not birth a child. So it's exactly that. Non-Amish people would be more pissed off. Oh, you're a disgrace. Well, you don't qualify to get to vote here. And basically, I don't really goof on the Amish in my show. I'm the dick in the show or things that piss me off. So it's not like I'm not degrading to the Amish. If anything, I defend them. What pissed me off about the Amish Mafia show, you had to see the Amish.
There was an Amish Mafia show.
Oh my, you're so far behind in Amish.
I'm so behind. Oh my gosh,
it's so terrible.
What is it called?
It's called Amish Mafia.
Okay.
And you go and they portray the Amish as this needy, horrible group, and the tourists come and they cheat them, and then they go crying to Lebanon, Levi. I didn't even want to talk about this, but since you don't know about it, and he was like the Amish Mafia mob boss, and then he would go and straighten everything out, which pissed me off because the Amish are so self-sufficient that if there was a Survivor show and there was Team Amish, that's who would win. You would pick them.
Wow.
They wouldn't cry and say, "Oh, a tourist came and kicked my apple stand over."
They're resourceful. They're scrappy. Yeah.
They really are. So that's the thing I didn't like about it. Plus, there's no Amish Mafia. It just isn't. But it's an entertaining show. And it's like one of those one-hit wonders, two-hit shows. I'm actually on an Amish National Geographic show called Amish Out of Order. Here's the thing. Accidentally, all my friends are in like the film and entertainment industry, mostly production people, because I'm north of Philly by about an hour. So they always have projects going on, and they teach me how to stream, and they always have stuff going, little film projects and I did little documentaries for them, filming on set crews and all that stuff. So when I got a call, this is Claire from the National Geographic. We'd like to have Raymond, the Amish comedian, on our National Geographic show. I'm like, Crenshaw, get the fuck out of here. I thought it was my friends dicking with me. And I hung up on her like 2 times. But it turned out to be a real thing. And so they were going to come to Pennsylvania and film me, some of my show, and interview me and all that stuff. And I had there's Sellersville Theater right outside of Philly, gorgeous venue. I was going to be there a week too late, and that's where I wanted them to go. So they wound up coming to a fire hall in the middle of fucking Pennsylvania. Nothing. If you're in the middle of Pennsylvania and then you head north, it's trees and trees and trees, and you can go 30 minutes before you see even an exit. And Claire was like, we'd like to meet with you in a restaurant near the venue. I'm like, there's no restaurant near the venue. There just isn't. So then they came up there for that, and the guy he runs all the National Geographic things, Mose Gingrich. And they were fun too, because he was doing a series, Amish Out of Order, and it was a progression. He actually helps young Amish leave. He does have like an Amish underground thing going on. And you get with him, I think he's based in Missouri. Somehow you get with him and they arrange housing and clothing and driver's licenses and little jobs and all that stuff. So it was really his show, was what it was. But the show turned out to be really, really serious. And they started, I think, in Ohio, and they tracked their way over every episode. And I was at the point where the filming was done. I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching with my wife and daughter. I really don't even want to be on this show. It's way too serious. And I'm such a dick. And after the one episode, I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. And they're what? They're coming to Pennsylvania next week. No, that's not it. The episode was one young Amish guy got, he helped him get a driver's license in a short amount of time, way too short. And he smacked his car up and he died because he got his license way too soon.
Oh, no.
And I goofed on Mose Gingrich at my event, not knowing that, but just guessing that as a comedic scenario during my thing. It was known that he was there. Oh, you get people driver's licenses and you don't spend nearly enough time. And if you only teach them for 9 days, ultimately on the 10th day, when you turn them loose, they're going to go sailing over a cliff and kill themselves. And that had happened, but I didn't know. So I have the magic ability of saying the thing I shouldn't say accidentally.
Was there a backlash for that?
No, there wasn't. I didn't know. And they actually cut my scene, which I was happy about. Plus they were assholes too. I was working with National Geographic, Claire, as it were. And I thought up a goof because I wanted to, they had it set up. This Amish guy, Mose Gingrich, was going to be in my audience, and I'd rag on the Amish, and then I'd pick a little fight with him because he'd get mad and say, well, I'm really Amish and you're not Amish, and we don't want to have this fight going on. And I'm like, do we have anything else? Give me some dirt on Mose Gingrich is what I said. And they said, well, he's a closet, he wants to be a country singer.
Okay.
That's what he wants to be. Oh. And I said, well, if you can arrange to have a guitar there when we get into a heckling battle, I will invite him on stage to play a song for us all. And they went for it. I was just making shit up. I couldn't believe they were going to go for it. Wow. So they went for it. And then he was, the ham in him came out. But I'm at a fire hall with drunk in my audience, and I curse like nobody's business. And he decides he's going to play on his guitar for my drunken fire hall audience, the German version of Amazing Grace.
Wow.
All the joy got sucked out of this room.
Yeah, as soon as you said German, I was like, that's not going to be joyful.
So to save the day, I just bowed my head and I walked out of the room slowly in shame and left. And they cheered and I thought it was like a, performance art or something.
Yeah.
So my scene got cut, but it was a lot of fun. But I still get the credit when you film.
Good. Yeah.
When you film and they don't use it, you still get the credit. So.
Yeah, I don't think it works that way in comedy. Like if you get cut from a show, they're like,
Well, you're on the IMDb page, maybe.
Yeah.
If they filmed you, but that's pretty much it. But I've never really hit it. I have all these things that cool stuff has happened to me, and you're like, oh boy, this is gonna do it, pow, and it doesn't. Like I'm a background actor in the movie For Richer for Poorer. Tim Allen and Kirstie Alley. I'm all over, and I don't have any speaking parts, but I'm in that movie. I'm showing my age now. Here'll be another thing. You probably aren't old enough to remember when MTV played music.
Yes, I am.
videos.
I do remember that. Like we didn't have cable, but where my mom worked, like she had a TV in her boss's office. So I would like sneak over the summer during summer school. I would like sneak in and like watch MTV in her boss's office. Like, and I was like, wow.
It's and that information was pre-internet. So if you try to Google that, nothing comes up. And I'm guessing at the year, but I got plugged into a thing called 7-Up and Out. 7-Up sponsored a competition of 7 people starting in California. They would challenge their way across the country, and the last person standing in New Jersey would get to host their own Pauly Shore type MTV thing. So I was so excited when they contacted me, because I'm like, this is amazing. They start in California and I'll track across the country. And they, no, we just want you on the leg where we come through Pennsylvania. Perfect. Right. I've always dreamed of never leaving Pennsylvania, and this will keep that going a little bit. So I was a comedy judge, and I was supposed to teach whoever was left. I think they were down to 3 or 4. Teach them comedy, and then they'd perform out on the streets, and then I'd help judge
actual Amish people, or who are you teaching?
No, just the contestants trying to get the VH1 thing. Somehow I was the comedy expert. So when I got there, I had an agent at the time, and he's gone. That's a whole nother story. But when I was supposed to be there for 2 days, and then they're there. Okay, we got you. We're going to be filming this and this and this Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll be working on this. I'm like, wait. There's no real money here. It's just a credit. You know what that's like.
Oh, yeah, my whole life.
And they said, panic. Don't panic. It's Monday. From like 8 to noon, we're going to shoot Monday. And then Monday at 1 o'clock, we'll change our shirts. And then we're calling it Tuesday from 1 to 5. So they shot the whole week in like 5 days.
Wow.
And that was fun for me, because the cast and everybody else had to change their clothing to make it seem like it was next day.
Yeah.
But I am dressed for the whole week. So I was good to go. That's a credit that I can't Google.
That is a good credit. I'm just wondering, like, how many outfits like does the average Amish person have? Like, would you just wear that until it falls apart, pretty much?
No, you got a lot. You absolutely have a lot. And the hats. I have such a fine collection of hats. These are actually good hats, and I've been getting them in Lancaster. I've been doing this almost 30 years now. About as recently as 10 years ago, a hat like this was like $50.
Wow.
But in the last year or two, they shot up to like $150.
Whoa.
And I need them. They get sweaty, they shrink, they get horrible. So I have a collection of like maybe 10 or 15 of these hats. And when you're out performing, you know how fun it is to perform with drunk people. And they do we love the after show selfie and all that.
Meet and greet, yep.
But it's like, let me wear your hat. Let me wear your hat. You don't want to know how much horrible sweat is in this thing. Why
you don't want to smell this hat. Yeah.
So but I'm also very sensitive about it, because I don't know where your head has been.
True.
So I don't want my hat all over. So people and they get a little pissy. You know, come on, don't be a dick. You put on my, you know, Beaver Run Rod and Gun Club baseball cap, and I'll wear the Amish hat. No, so and that's what they became mouse ears. That was the mouse ears thing.
Yeah, because people don't, especially when you're drunk, you're like, oh, you're here for my entertainment. And thank God, like, I've never had a fan be like, let me try on your dress after a show.
Well, now you just gave some people an idea when they hear this.
Now people have ideas. So I want to know, so you went on your Rumspringa, you were like, oh, the city life is calling to me. You left the Amish, and I imagine you like shaved your beard, cut your hair, and like looked like a non-Amish person. At what point did you, and then you said you had this job at the screen printing place where you were kind of being a cut up and being fun and funny. So how did you start doing stand-up?
Well, the beard was off for only one summer. That was it, because that's the first thing you want to do. I'm gonna look like normal people. But if you live your life with this beard on your face, and then you take it off, like this, the wind hitting my face actually hurt. I just wasn't used to it. It was weird, and so I grew this thing right back as fast as I could. So and I like the look. I mean, it's definitely
it works for you.
It definitely it's a thing. And then I get mad with people when I'm trying to book work with them. They're like, well, we don't know how to sell you. Well, how about the Amish angle? There's something you could exploit a little bit. But yeah, I like the look. And then I think there was another part of that question.
How you went from just being funny at your job to starting comedy.
Okay, so in the screen printing shop, they had too many people that didn't know what they were doing, and they fought all the time. And I don't like fighting. In fact, I was actually hired to be some sort of liaison between the printing people and the office people next door. And so whenever they'd fight, they had on a morning radio show, Bear Man and Keith, WZZO in the Lehigh Valley. What is significant about that is Bear Man started Opie's career in Buffalo. Of Opie and Anthony.
Yeah.
Bear Man was big in Buffalo. That's where he's from. And Opie was starting out. He was the overnight guy. And then the changing of the guards there, Opie was really doing stuff, creating stuff that doesn't work overnight. And the Bear Man like invited him in the morning. Oh, you want to hang around and do stuff. So Opie actually credits Bear Man to launching him. And that's my guy. Bear Man was been so good, but he died a couple of years ago. It was tragic. But I phoned, these knuckleheads were listening to Bear Man and Keith, and they would ask for people to phone in and say stupid shit. And then I would say the stupid shit, but I wouldn't phone in. And then the people in the shop would laugh. They actually called the radio show for me, and they go, oh, that's funny. Here, we'll call, and then you say it. So that happened. And then these are the older, I'm showing my age again. The phones then were like the size, business phones were the size of that. It was the size of like pizza boxes. There was a console, like a small pizza box, and they were all hardwired. If you wanted the phone to go from this room to that room, you needed like a 200-foot cord. So as radio wanted me to call, it got to be, we want you to call this time. I'd have to pretend, because his boss was there. He wasn't on board with any of that shit. I'd have to pretend that I had to go to the bathroom.
That's great.
and lug this big phone into the bathroom with me. So I'm sitting in the bathroom going, hey, hello, Raymond here. And then nobody ever asked me why I was talking to myself loudly in the bathroom with a phone.
Yeah, what you do in the bathroom is your business.
That's right. So, but there was a whole process, because you really can't just take this phone and go into the bathroom. So I had a scam going. I'd have to pretend like someone from the office needed information from me from the front. So I would carry the phone to the front of the print shop and then sneak it into the bathroom. And then that would be
great.
So
that's amazing that you were able to do that. Like with a cell phone today, you just be like, oh, I'm going out for whatever. And you do your radio. I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's funny too. And then I was lucky too, because there was no internet. There was no cell phones, and comedians now, like I say, I could tweet and tag Rain Pryor, and she can say book them. We didn't have none of that. My only contact was with the comedians who were in that club. The radio station had a half ownership of one of the guys ran a comedy club with somebody else in Allentown. And they said, we have a club. You want to do like 5-10 minute guest sets?
Wow.
So I got to work a lot.
Like right away.
Right away. And comedians helped me. Somehow they liked me. And I didn't have to tweet at them or email them or Facebook
or slave away at an open mic for years before. A lot of comics slave at open mics for years before doing their first real show.
And I'm full of myself because a lot of people wanted to help me, and I listened to their advice, which I don't know if you've gone through this. I love helping young comedians, but a lot of times they ask for help, and what they're really asking is put me on a show, on a show.
Do it for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because they'll say, would you look at my material? And I sound like I'm all full of myself, but I'm 30 years in the business. I kind of sort of know what I'm doing. And I would look at a piece, they'd email me something, and I would rip it apart, which is what I was told. Jim Mendrinos really helpful to me dicing up my comedy and stuff and getting to the funny part. And then I rip it up for them, and they go, well, who the fuck do you think you are? Well, you asked me.
You sent it to me.
But the best advice I got back in those days was Kent Casper, who I lost touch with. He was a former district attorney in New York, bald guy with a bad toupee. That was part of his comedy thing. He told me to call up the other guy on Long Island, Gary Grant, who owned that club, and say, tell him you want to MC every weekend all summer, which is a slow season for comedy, for free.
Wow.
And I said, why would I do that? He goes, for stage time, you fucking idiot, stage time. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh my God, it's all about stage time. Because MC's got shitty money anyway, like $25 for the weekend, $50. He goes, you will get 2 years of stage time over a summer.
Wow, that's really smart. So did you do that? Did you move to Long Island?
No, I did. This club was in Allentown.
Okay.
It was fantastic. I got 3 15-minute sets and the 5 minutes in between every weekend from like May to Labor Day, and I didn't have any idea what I was doing. Plus, I had the radio. So
wow, that's great.
Because the radio people. So I mean, that was fantastic, and that's where I met so many people, so helpful to my career, and I've been lucky sitting here with no career now. Everything is, my life was good until now.
So Raymond, how did you think to put, so you obviously you're doing a little bit of radio, a little bit of hosting. At what point did you fuse that with like your Amish former identity?
Well, the whole thing was accidental too, because I had been phoning in the radio station and they gave me carte blanche to see comedy over there before I started comedy. And I never really met them. They said, we'll put you on the guest list. You can go watch comedy. So my wife and I went to watch comedy like every weekend. And then I phoned in the one morning, and the guy said, we weren't on the air yet. He goes, you're pretty funny. And so if you want to do like a 5-minute guest set at the club, wow, we'd love to have you. And I'm like, that'd be great. Let me, it's your first 5. So you don't want to just say, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. So I said, okay, let me whip it up. And I thought I had my 5 minutes. And then I didn't understand how comedy works. So I thought when I say, okay, I'm ready, it would still be a couple of weeks before they could fit me in. And this was like on a Thursday. And they're like, okay, we'll see you tomorrow night. I'm like, shit, that's too soon. That is too soon. But it hit good enough. And then they invited me back. And, it's a drug. When there people are laughing. Yeah. And that's been the toughest thing for me. Live streaming is we're so full of ourselves, and that laughter is better drug than any mix of bourbon and marijuana you could come up with. you get addicted to it. It just can overpower you, and the crowds get bigger and the laughter. And trying to stream live was like, oh my God, you'd say a joke and there's no laughter because you're streaming live, and then
or there's a delay. Yeah. Or
yeah,
there's
you pause for laughter that isn't there, and you hope it's there, but you don't know it's there. Then you feel stupid pausing,
right.
Because there's
It's
no
so
laughing.
different.
Yeah, then I got to encourage people to do this thing. Seem like a prop comic. These little emojis, that got to be the thing when you're streaming. There's little laughing face emoji bubbles
you could like
coming up on the screen.
Yeah,
You're like, oh boy, that tells me that I think I'm funny a little bit somehow.
that's funny. So Raymond, for that first 5-minute set, did you have this whole like persona down, or did that take a while?
It had more of like a Pennsylvania Dutch root feel about it, and then it seemed like Pennsylvania Dutch was really clicky and really more of a thing. So I thought I'm gonna kind of exploit and embrace my Amish roots a little bit here, and that turned out to be a brilliant move, which also fucked me a little bit because one of these 5-minute sets was a comic strip in New York. I got invited up there, and I was instructed like 19 times, 5 minutes is 5 minutes. It's not 5 minutes and 15 seconds. It's 5 minutes. I clocked this thing out like fucking 100 times with a timer, and then I did it, and I paused for laughter, and I paused for possibly not laughter. But when I was introduced and I walked out, I wasn't prepared for people to just laugh at me for 20 seconds before I spoke.
Oh man, just by the sight of you.
That 20 seconds on a tight 5 is huge.
Oh man. And you were like, can you just laugh after my jokes? Shit.
That's exactly what happened. It totally fucked me up. So I'm a comedian in New York for the first time, and my brain is going, well, these people shut the fuck up and stop laughing, which is actually the opposite of what.
Right, because you were so focused on what you were going to say, like almost like couldn't enjoy the moment because they were like they loved just seeing you.
Yeah, and then, because my mind likes to play tricks on me, my mind is going, everything's going well, and I hate to fuck it up by speaking now. If I could just be put on display for 5 minutes. That would be the dream.
That's really great. Wow. I mean, I think it's good. I mean, that's what you always hear as a new comic, you know, everyone's like, find your voice. And you're like, what does that even mean? You know? And it's great when you have something like, oh, I'm an Amish comic. It's like, boom, it kind of like makes the rest of your decisions for you. Like, yeah, you probably feel like there's certain stuff that you can't get booked for, but I think the positives are far greater because that's what it is now. It's like, it's not enough to just be funny or just do comedy. It has to be like comedy and what else? It's like comedy and cooking, comedy and being Amish, and that's how you find your fans and your people. Yeah,
and when you first start out, and experienced comedians tell you that, you don't have any idea what they're trying to tell you because again, the guy who helped me, Ken Casper, when I was first starting out, he goes, I hate you. I'm like, why do you hate me? He goes, because when you say fuck, it's almost cute. And you're really funny and you don't have the slightest idea what you're doing yet.
Wow.
So, and that's exactly right. And so my show has evolved to a faster pace over the years, mostly so drunken people can't help me, because you know what that's about. When you say something and then you pause thoughtfully to speak, a lot of people take that as their cue to yell out stupid shit. So my cadence on my show is which also came back to haunt me during the live stream, because the breathing break time for the rapid fire comedian is the laughter. And when the laughter is going, and you can throw them a face,
you can take a breath.
Then the laughter, then you can take a breath, but you don't know when to do that in the live stream. So the tendency is to just kind of hammer through. And after like 35 episodes, I have live streaming down pretty good to where I'm not afraid to say a thing and then go, throw them a smile. But there is find who you are is the greatest bad information that there ever could be. But I sound like I'm whoring someone's book here. Jim Mendrinos' book, Writing Comedy for Idiots, or whatever the heck it is. There's a lot of help now for comedians. There wasn't when I started. There were like 3 books out to help you with comedy and the comedians. So that's the stuff I learned, write out your material, get to the funny as fast as you can. What don't you need? And then when I'm trying to help a younger comedian, that's what I do. I'll look at the words, and then I'll say, okay, it takes like 300 words for you to say you went to the mall with your girlfriend sneaker shopping. All that shit that happened before has nothing to do with the bit. Dump it. Dump it.
Dump the long exposition. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they get mad at you. And the punchline there is I'm a babbler. So I can get away with it now where I couldn't before. I can babble with the best of them now. Take me 20 minutes to say hello. But when you're first starting out, you don't know that, man. Cut the fat, get to the meat, and then go on. I'm old school. Lenny Bruce. I like the masters. Lenny Bruce, Carlin, Richard Pryor, Robin Williams. Lenny Bruce was in a recording somewhere. He said he needs something that has to happen like every 10 or 15 seconds. And that's a tough recipe, but it's a good recipe.
Different comics have you got to try to get a laugh. Different comics will say try for a laugh every your first 30 seconds, and then almost measuring it what are your LPMs, laughs per minute, and there's really different styles. There's some people who do have long setups and it works for them and they're more storytelling, and then there's people who just do one-liners, and then there's tight, really masterful joke writers like a Mark Normand, so it is about kind of what works best for you and your delivery and your identity. So
yeah, and all that stuff can be thrown right out the window if it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Here's the cookbook, but the cookbook doesn't work for me. So then you got to kind of match up all the pieces. And then you're like, okay, I can just walk out on stage and people will laugh by staring at me. I have to utilize this as best I can. And then that's a smart audience who sees an Amish comedian standing with all this electric around him and is starting to laugh. But when I would hit a crowd that didn't know what to make of me, there would be a dead stare, almost like they thought death had come for them.
What are you doing here?
Death has come for us, and there he is in the form of this,
Amish comedian.
He's going to fix our story. So yeah, I'm still learning. I mean, I'm not making any money. It's been such a horrible year. I don't make any money streaming, but it keeps me sane. It keeps me writing.
Yeah.
And I just look at it as a challenge. Okay, it's what we have to do to survive now. We're all podcasting and live streaming. And I'm working on a podcast, but I don't know what to do with it. And I'm ADD and OCD, and I'm like, how do you get people to listen? And so then I try to study. There's so much online help. There's podcast guys that they're from, I think one's from England and one's from Scotland. They're amazing. And I listened to their crash course for free. And so I dumped a whole bunch of shit that I thought I was going to do. One of the first things they said was, if you're new to podcasting, don't try to do a 2-person show, which is that's what you want to do because you're afraid. You're afraid and say, I'll do another show with a comedian, but then there's scheduling problems and who's going to do the editing. And I don't want to tape at 10 o'clock in the morning. I want to tape at 10 o'clock at night. And how do we split the money and who edits? And then, so you have all that shit to deal with while you're trying to figure stuff out. So I never, first we have to master me, and then move on from there.
What about Raymond? Like, are you like on Cameo, where people can like put in a request, like, oh, it'd be so funny to have like this Amish comedian like wish my friend a happy birthday. That's what it's for, basically. People throw you a couple bucks and you send them like a short video. And I'm like just thinking of like what would be a fun play off of like, you know, have you heard of OnlyFans, where basically like it's basically like you could put naked photos, but like if you did a play on that, like only Amish or Amish fans, and it's like something with your hat off, like you don't have to be naked, but like
I did. I submitted to Cameo, and I'm not famous because I'm not famous enough to be on it, because during the submission, I don't know if you submitted to Cameo or not. One of the first questions is, how many followers do you have across all your platforms? And the first one to click is like 400,000, and I don't have 400,000.
I don't think I have that, but try again.
I have like 30,000 between my Facebook fan pages, another 2,000 over Twitter. So there's another one. I'm a big Twin Peaks fan. Sherilyn Fenn is on Jemmy. And
I've never heard of that.
Cameo for less famous people. And they took me right away. But I just got approved, so I don't know what I'm doing yet. I have to figure out how much should I charge to have somebody call me now and say, "Hi, happy birthday." What do you charge for that?
I don't know. I think it depends. We can always like talk more later about that. I don't know.
Oh,
how interesting.
So are you?
Yeah, we'll have to do a wrap up. But I'm so curious to know like how many, because when you said the Ohio Amish before, I'm like, how many different groups of Amish people are there? I just thought it was Pennsylvania.
There's the Amish fight about everything, and then they split into a new sect. So there's the tractor driving Amish. They have different color buggies. They have they wear their suspenders on a specific angle and cross, and they fight about everything, and they become a new whole sect. And if you drive right through Pennsylvania, I'm still discovering new ones. In the middle of Pennsylvania somewhere, there's an Amish community, and they have fluorescent yellow buggies. And I didn't know if it was like a gay parade of the Amish. I didn't know what was going on here. It was, so they do. There's a lot of different sects. And then the Mennonites, that's a whole nother ball game. But there's a lot. There's a lot, and specific to what they allow. You know, some Amish, they can use phones for business, but it can't be in the house. So it's like Green Acres. They have a phone on like a wooden, like a Doctor Who phone box booth across the road, and there'll be a sign on it on their business. You know, we'll take phone calls on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 5, and that's it.
Jesus,
so
wow.
They take whatever technology they need to kind of survive a little bit. But,
yeah, that's interesting. I remember the last time I did a show in Lancaster. Yeah, we were like right behind a buggy, and I saw lights. Like I saw lights on the back of it. I was like, "Hey, is this a loophole? Like they're using electric here?" But I guess those are somewhat mandated. It sounds like.
Well, they could be Mennonites. That's the whole thing. The Mennonites will take as much technology as they need to survive and no more. The joke doesn't work anymore. The Mennonites were called the Black Bumper Amish because they would buy cars, and they had the big silver chrome bumpers, which were too showy, so they would paint them black so that it wouldn't look so. But there's no big silver bumpers on cars anymore, so that's not a thing.
We're going to retire the bumper joke. And are most of your fans, Raymond, are they like, what would you say the breakdown of your fans is? That a lot of former Amish like yourself, or just more like some regular people?
No, it's my daughter says this about me, and it's a compliment. I'm the common man's comedian. I especially since the last 10 years or so, I just rant about shit that we all go through. And that's pretty much it. I'm mostly Pennsylvania fire holes and stuff, a couple comedy clubs, I do some theater shows, but the age range for me is pretty good. I can get 18 right straight up through geezer. And then that is a great crowd for me, because I love I have a whole rant I do about the evolution of technology. So there's 18-year-old kids there that grew up with iPhones, and then there's old geezers there, and there was nothing. There was no phones, no cell phones, no cable TV. So the mashup of that works well for me. But it's common, man. It's the the truck drivers and the postal workers and school teachers and but it's rare that there's Amish in my audience. When in that Lancaster club, for reasons I couldn't tell you, every so often there'd be like a group of 8 or 10 Amish that would come, all guys. They all sat at a table like an Amish mob, and they all had a Yingling lager, and they seemed like they had an unspoken leader, and they drank their beers at like the same pace, almost like he'd nod and they'd drink, and then it'd be down to one little thing left, and then they'd finish that, and then they would go.
That's funny. Interesting. Raymond, where can people find you, follow you, see more of your stuff?
My live stream show is on YouTube. It's Raymond the Amish Comic or Amish Comic on YouTube. If you put Amish Comic in the search engine on YouTube, I have to come up. If it's not me, I'll blow my own brains out. And that's the same for like Twitter, Instagram, any of those. Amish Comic. Get my live stream show. I've been streaming free for donations. I have some terrible stuff here. I give this bumper sticker to my fans. It's 2020. Fuck you in a bucket of goo is basically what it is. There's my cockatiel right there.
Oh, Squawky. What's her name?
Sparky.
Sparky.
Squawky's very accurate, by the way. But yeah, I'm YouTube is where my live stream is, but I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. Anybody, can post on there. Although I'm trying to hide from Hatebook, and I'm actually trying to hide from Twitter now. Twitter is become fucking room 237 in The Shining now. It's just such a nightmare on there. So it's been been a tough year on all of us. So
check out some of the other social media platforms like Parler and Rumble. It's like there's starting to be more like free speech type platforms out there. So I mean, there's just always keep looking and posting and doing everything you can.
Yeah, there's always something new to try. So and then that's the fun of it. Trying to stream to 2 platforms was so insane. In fact, I'm trying to whack at it again. I've only been on YouTube for a while now, but because I'm a glutton for punishment, I'm trying to stream back to 2 platforms again, and we'll see how that works. But
try Loola, Loola. I think they can stream to like multiple platforms at the same time, but I can email you that stuff later on.
Cool. Yeah,
Raymond,
that would be great.
Thank you so much for coming on. This was wonderful.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully I'll see you in real life soon.
Yeah, really. Good luck to us. We need it.
Yeah. Bye.